Hello, I'm Haldo-Rait Harro, and you're watching and listening to the episode of Leaders and Engineers. We are broadcasting from Estonia. Today, our guest is an expert in communications engineering and military leadership. He graduated Estonian National Defence College with degree in military leadership in land forces and Bachelor of Science in Chemistry and Master of Science in Electrical, Electronics and Communications Engineering, with more than 7 years of experience in military and engineering leadership. He is a former officer of Estonian Defence Forces Cyber Command. He is living in Estonia and working now in Estonia in Ericsson as a manager of final assembly development and maintenance. Please meet Haldo-Rait Harro.
Hello, happy to be here.
Nice to have you here. So how are you doing?
I'm doing well, thank you for asking.
How's been your day?
It has been interesting, for sure. Lots of challenges.
You like challenges?
Absolutely. Life is boring without challenge.
Have you had moments when you had like no challenge and you felt it was boring?
Absolutely, yes. Absolutely nothing too interesting to tell about that. It's absolutely boring time.
If not secret, what was it? On vacation or?
No, it was on the job. There was no challenges. Just you had to basically not develop anything. Nothing was going badly. It was just existing.
It's actually interesting that how big needs to be the challenge so you notice it. Because is it possible that life without challenge at all? Like easy life or?
I mean, probably life will give you some challenge at some point, but the interval is, of course, dependent on your actions. I like to take actions that make my life more challenging.
So if life is too peaceful, you will try to bring some kind of chaos or some unpredictability.
Then I will probably do something new that I haven't done before.
If speaking about something new, have you tried some new hobbies?
Recently, new hobbies. No, I think I have enough hobbies to cover a lifetime.
Maybe not like a hobby, but you went out of your way to try something new, something unusual for you.
I think, considering that I am now a manager of managers since September, it is now April, that's pretty new still. So that's a big challenge, I think.
It's actually an interesting experience, but many of this, I think we are already turning into kind of questions that I would have asked you in the part of the job interview.
Yeah.
Now the format that I would like to propose to you. I already mentioned job interview, so the idea that I want to propose to you is that let's imagine that you're applying for some company in leadership position and leadership in engineering. So there are engineers that you're leading, and maybe it's also could be managers of engineers, but still it's engineering domain. And it's fictional everything, and the invention also, the product is fictional. And then at that point, I will say that we are done with this job interview. And I'll ask about your feedback about this interview.
Mm-hmm.
Are you ready?
Absolutely. Let's go.
Great. Hello, Haldo-Rait.
Hello, Nadir.
Thank you for applying for a position in our company. And our company is producing a fan cooler for stinky shoes. And you'll see this on your monitors. I will show to Haldo-Rait how it looks like.
Mm-hmm.
So you have pipes, you put the fan into the shoes, and then they are fresh and ready to be worn again.
Excellent. I think excellent use cases also for wet shoes. You can try them out really fast.
Great. We actually haven't thought about it, but you're already adding extra feature to this product.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm from Estonia, so we have wet shoes all the time. Personal experience there.
But from your personal experience, do you use something similar, or how would you try it? Oh.
I have used a heating element that goes inside the shoe. That you put the shoe on top of the heating element, but it doesn't have active air circulation. So it's innovation there.
Would you pull in air or pull out?
I think for drying, if I had dry air, I would push it in. But yeah, of course, for freshening, pulling out makes a bit more sense. So I think, but it should be quite easy to change the directionality.
So I see that you already have some sort of experience, and which might give you more ideas how to enhance this product. So, but why have you decided to apply for this position?
Well, I really like challenges, and I see that leading a team of engineers on developing this product would be a great challenge, and I would really enjoy that.
And you search for, let's say, different companies, and why did you pick our company? What was so special about our company?
Well, I believe that according to my so far research, I could be wrong here, but my values and the company values and company employees' mindset and values are in alignment. So I think I would fit here very well.
Speaking about mindset and the values, what are those important for you? Like your values and mindset?
Yep. So the most important value for me is a discrimination-free speak-up environment. So the free exchange of ideas. I can think of a university setting where you can always challenge the status quo. You can bring an idea as long as you are respectful of other people. Nothing is retaliated that you had different idea. You're somehow behaving badly. So speak up is a really core value, and I also believe you share this speak up mentality and value.
But if we talk about speak up, what are the boundaries? It's like kind of any speak up, or there are certain shades to the speak up. What is okay for you when it comes to speak up?
I think speak up is similar to any other right. That a single person's rights end where another's begin. So the boundary of speak up is, like I mentioned already, respect and professionalism. So you should limit your speak up when you're over emotional. You should calm down and speak, so you don't offend, accuse or attack somebody unjustly. So you don't. It doesn't usually benefit to hurt people. So that's a clear boundary. Also, again, as another speak up boundary is there's a time and a place for some things. So if somebody is doing a presentation and you're standing up and criticizing it, maybe that's not, again, respectful to the setting, the other listeners who we want to hear the end of the presentation. So again, it circles back to respect and professionalism.
So did I understand correctly that you're not for brutal honesty, but you would rather make it softer?
If I have to choose between brutal honesty and dishonesty, I would choose brutal honesty. But like I mentioned earlier, there is a limit. If you can achieve the same result without hurting somebody, why wouldn't you choose that way? That's the line I would draw there. But if you are fudging numbers or saying, leaving out of calculation, for example, for example, efficiency calculations, but you're leaving out maintenance time because it was planned and it's not considered part of efficiency. Yes, it is. If you are doing maintenance faster, you're more efficient. So that's brutal honest. You have to be brutally honest that our numbers are really bad, maybe, for example, on efficiency. That's how we can improve them. If we show we're 100% efficient when we're really not. but that's the way we're calculating it. That's not brutally honest. It's sugarcoating the numbers, and that's not acceptable. That's not the way to improve.
But let's imagine the situation that you have your team, and then there are customers, and then there is tough competition, and maybe for your team you can be brutally honest. But will you go and tell the same to your customers? Or you will slightly sugarcoat?
It depends on the strategy, the customer interaction strategy. I believe it is possible to win customers over by saying that we will give you what we actually promise. We will actually deliver. But again, there was an experiment where in US where they removed all discounts and sold still at the discount price things that would have been discounted all year round otherwise. And that actually failed miserably. So people, in that sense, when you're selling something, like to be lied to. So it depends on the sales strategy in that case. But if you're actively trying to improve something from an engineering point of view, then you have to be honest.
Okay. And just before we started this job interview mode, you basically mentioned that right now you are manager of managers, and you didn't have experience of being manager of specialists. You straight away became the manager of the managers, right?
Well, I didn't have the experience in Ericsson. When I was in the military, I was leading up to 44 people at some point. So obviously we had layers. But it's a little bit different in the military. The hierarchy is much stiffer. The specialists are maybe not so special if they're privates in the military. They're quite just learning, basically like students. It's more like being a teacher in that sense, or a head teacher. So I had experience in leading leaders, but not in a engineering field before I started.
But if you compare, what's the biggest difference between being the manager of manager and being the manager of specialist, but in your case, private?
I think the main difference is how much you have to focus on the operational tasks. So being a manager of managers, the focus is less on the day-to-day operations. They should be able to handle that on their own. The focus is on what will come after that. What is the culture of the whole organization? What is the ways of working? What is the business model? What is the input-output? All of those above operational things. Some call this strategic. I would call strategic things that are defining how we actually succeed. But between operational strategy, there's also a layer of ways of working in the enterprise. So a lot more focus on that and a lot less on what's happening today, tomorrow, day after that.
And what is more challenging? Managing managers or specialists?
I think new things are more challenging. So I have been doing managing managers less, so it's right now more challenging. I don't know, it will be more challenging down the line when I have done it more. So it's too early to tell.
But if we elaborate on this topic, do you find that managing the managers, it might be trickier in the sense that this category of the people, they might have ambitions, much more ambitions than the specialists?
I find leading people with ambition a lot easier than leading people without ambition. Because if you have a person with ambition, you can dangle the carrot in front of them and they will go after it. Because you can say, hey, if we do these things, those things that you want will follow, and they will go do it. If the person doesn't have ambition, just want to exist, and I know a lot of these kind of people, and it's not about who is in the management and who is in the specialist. I know both kinds of people from both levels. People without ambition, you are really struggling to find the carrot, so it only leaves the stick. Like if you don't do it in this level of quality, bad things will happen, threatening way. negative motivation. So it's a lot easier to use the carrot rather than the stick in mentally. It's a lot easier. So I find it a lot easier to also lead people who are ambitious. Yeah, unfortunately, I've also seen managers who don't have any ambition at all. They just want to get the job done for the day and go home, and then it is a struggle to get them to develop further to go next level.
But if you put them side by side, ambition and trust, if you have very ambitious person who is reporting to you, will it equal to less trust? How will you balance here?
I don't think trust and ambition are connected. I think trust is based on your performance. If you are capable and you do what you say you're gonna do, and maybe you do more than you say you're gonna do, and you do it better in a high quality, then you earn trust. And of course, trust is credited at first, usually. So you are given a certain credit of trust, assuming you don't do something to fail in that trust. You will just keep earning it. But ambition, that if you're ambitious but fail or not deliver what you said you're gonna do, you're gonna lose trust. If you're ambitious and prove yourself, you're gonna earn trust. I don't think it's connected.
Well, let me elaborate. Let's imagine that the ambition of the person is actually to go above the position, or maybe to aim for the position that you have. And could it be one of the ways that you put the full trust, but at the key moment, the person uses this to fulfill own ambition, to put you in a bad light?
That means I haven't supported their ambition, probably. So I'm really supportive of all my employees going to next levels. Because, like I said, it's easier to keep them doing a good job if they know that I am on their side in their ambition. So actually, I do have an employee who has asked me to be a reference as a candidate to a new position. And I said, yes, of course I will be a reference. You're a great employee. Why wouldn't I tell somebody that you are a great employee just to keep you? That's not going to motivate you to stay. What's going to motivate you to stay is see how good collaboration we have, and consider that before you resign. But if I don't have anything to offer you anymore, and you're outgrown this position, you want to move on, why would I keep you? That's exactly what actually happened to me. When I outgrew my position in the army, I was told that you're doing such a good job, keep doing it for the next 6 years. And I was gone in 3 months from that position. And I joined Ericsson.
So would it be that you would not encourage that if you see that I know if it takes more than 3 years to change the position, then for you it will be a signal trigger to move ahead?
Sorry, I didn't understand the question.
I mean, if you see that there is no change in the position, let's say within the 3 years, would it be a kind of a trigger for you to...
For me, myself? No, I don't have a time limit on my position. The trigger to move on is when I don't feel challenged anymore. When I think it's easy. When I could do it in my sleep. Then it's definitely time to move on. And another, of course, is when an opportunity does come up that I could see that I can do now. I have my experience package quite gathered. Then I will apply and see where it takes me. Like, I'm open to opportunities. Like I'm just right now applying for this job.
Exactly. And if we move more to the technologies and to what is happening right now in the world, there is this emergence of AI and a lot of discussions triggered around this ChatGPT. And ChatGPT is tip of the iceberg. There are actually Google cooking their own similar generative AI and so on. What is seeing? How will this change how the organizations work?
I think it changes in a similar way that we have seen before, where automation makes repetitive and mundane tasks unnecessary, and maybe we go from that, like we did after the Industrial Revolution. We went from 6 workday week to the 5 workday week. Maybe we go to 4 workday week, because a lot of the time that we're right now spending, the one extra day every week, we're spending on repetitive tasks, writing the same format email invitation for a meeting, writing the same, fulfilling the same form for procedure instruction. All of those can be automated, and the creative part of the human will be done in a much less time. So we will increase efficiency and we will reduce need to work.
So I see you take it very positively.
I mean, I wouldn't take it full 100% positively. It would be irresponsible. Every technology has a dark side. I think it is dangerous. I think it can be used for evil, like any other tool. It's now up to regulators to figure out what is the correct amount of regulation to keep innovation open, but stop bad guys from doing bad things. And I think it's a great challenge in social sciences. Oh, I can't pronounce this.
You pronounce quite well. At least I understand.
Social sciences. Yes, it's a great challenge for social sciences to now define what is okay and what is not okay to be done with AI.
But isn't it interesting that there is this technology, and you said dark side of technology.
Mm-hmm.
Is it dark side of technology, or it's dark side of the human who uses technology?
Yeah, of course, it's the human at the end of the day. Like, for example, the splitting of the atom, amazing energy potential, amazing engineering possibilities. We have so powerful steam engines now. But of course, then we have the atomic bomb. And even the atomic bomb is great guarantor of peace in the world. Atomic nations don't go directly to war anymore. It's because the consequences would be too terrible. So every technology, even the worst kind of technology, depends on the human using it at the end of the day. Is it good or is it bad? And the good and bad is subjective as well to the human.
Mm. But if we elaborate on this ChatGPT, for instance, it, as you mentioned, can be used for good, can be used for bad.
Mm-hmm.
But let's say you running the company, the large company, and in that sense, you have some of them are direct reports, but not everyone. You cannot control and monitor everyone.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have this decision to open up this tool for everyone to use. Will you trust to open up as it is, or you will think of setting some regulations, rules, how to use it?
There has to be some regulations internally in company as well. Like take this ChatGPT example. If you're using it as is, then we're sending all of our company data directly to OpenAI. We don't have any agreement with OpenAI what they're gonna do with this data.
But this is actually there are instances where I don't know 100% for sure, but probably it could be copied on the private cloud. But let's imagine that from that sense it's fine.
Mm-hmm.
Will you still want to regulate for your team how to use the?
It's an excellent question. I would have to think about it before I open it up. Like, let's say we have an enterprise service as OpenAI is providing us ChatGPT-4, for example, as a private service, or another company is implementing the model, ChatGPT model for us, and we can use it basically closed off from external sources. What kind of limitations do we need there? I don't think that we need any specific limitations other than don't do harm, which is like the basic tenet of everything. But off the top of my head, I can't think of anything that I would limit.
Because I think this is exactly the question of trust. How much we need to, when we regulate and we set some rules, doesn't mean potentially that we don't fully trust.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Of course, if we would trust everybody, then we wouldn't need any laws. We don't trust people we don't trust them that they don't steal. We don't trust them that they don't, scam. We don't trust them that they don't infringe on other people's rights. That's why we have laws. That's why we have law enforcement. But in a company setting, we already have basic regulations how you should behave. Those still apply. If you have a new tool here, like the new tool, we should already have a rule that you shouldn't send spam to other people. Now we have a new tool in the company that allows you to send hundreds of spam messages per minute. You still shouldn't do it. Still, the rule is already there. So off the top of my head, I can't think of any rules that would definitely need to be in place just because we have this new tool available. But if we have some use cases, then we can react.
All right. But now I want to bring us back to the use cases, different scenarios. And probably it will be familiar in the setup of the use cases more related to the security forces.
Mm-hmm.
I have borrowed this use case actually from United States Army College there.
Cool.
So here it is. You are the flight commander of security forces flight, and there are 15 enlisted airmen in your flight, and morale is very high. Everyone seems to contribute to the mission. However, this morning, one of your airmen, Timothy Griffin, reported being sexually assaulted by another member of the flight, Sergeant Richard Watson. And Griffin is in a relationship and has been experiencing some stress in that relationship. But after Griffin drank too much at the club, Watson offered the Griffin a ride home. And Griffin reported the sexual assault happened in the car. So they are basically located also in the same section of the building, in the same cubicle. And you have this kind of report. What actions do you need to take, and how will you resolve this? What are your next actions?
Well, my first question would be, is it reported to the police?
Should it be reported to police?
Is it reported? My first question would be there. Okay, let's assume it is reported. I would separate. First of all, I would separate these two employees, accuser and accused. Then I would try to understand: do either of them are they fit to continue service, depending on what we're doing? For example, if we're conducting drone operations, then I would say that neither of them is fit for service because they have to be fully alert when dealing with that high importance tasks. If we are just doing some office work, right, that depends. So probably if you were in a military context, I would put them on administrative leave, both of them, until it is figured out. Yeah, like, and then we have to do we have to keep the presumption of innocence, and we also have to keep the privacy of both individuals in mind. So I wouldn't go about announcing anything to anybody. If there is rumors, it's very difficult to fight rumors. They are what they are. If somebody comes to me, confronting me with a rumor, I would say that this is handled now. This case is handled now by proper authorities, and that people should mind their own business.
Mm-hmm.
And then on that's just like immediate actions. And then on the other end, I would ask for help from people function to investigate this kind of behavior or these kinds of problems prevalent in my unit. So I would ask to support to get people on interviews with psychologists, for example, or other support functions, because maybe they don't feel comfortable reporting directly to me. So I would do a separate investigation to understand, is there a culture problem or is this a one-off situation? Like such allegations be extremely serious issue and incredible breach of trust. So I don't think either of definitely, like, once it's proven or disproven, one of the people has to definitely leave one way or another. Like if it's a false allegation, the alleger has to leave. If it's a true allegation, of course, the person will go to prison, which is then fine. No, so it's a breach of trust for the whole wing in that case. But I'm not an air person, so maybe my terminology was not correct. I am graduating in the land forces.
Well, this is the case I basically found, but it can be any setup.
Yeah,
it's just was
for sure.
In that
I'm just commenting on my terminology. Might be correct.
But it's actually quite often, if we read the news and some different cases here and there popping up, and it might be when we speak about the sexual harassment, for instance, it might be some kind of verbal abuse, for instance, and it's also kind of considered. So in some cases, it might be really hard to prove.
Mm-hmm.
And let's take that the person comes to you and tells that, but just between the two happened, nobody has seen anything. And how will you handle if it's not really kind of possible to prove, but something was reported, and another person also, let's say, denying?
Mm-hmm. I haven't been in that kind of situation, fortunately, ever. Again, we have to go with presumption of innocence. That is first thing. Like we cannot say that just because somebody accused somebody of something that is true. That is the basic of democratic and just society, at least in my opinion. But what can so say for certain that okay, the trust between these two people is now broken. If one leaves, the other stays, that means I will have picked a side. If I order the both to leave, at least one of them, probably both will feel great injustice, and maybe the team members will also feel injustice that somebody was forced out by just an allegation. So it is extremely difficult situation. I would ask for help for sure. That's why support functions are there. It's not my everyday business to clear up this kind of situations. So my reaction would be probably to ask for help.
And you said, fortunately, you didn't have these situations, and indeed, I wouldn't wish anyone to have these kind of situations. But as I said, quite possible in this world, and also as kind of mental exercise for the leadership actions. This can be used in that way.
Mm-hmm.
But it just also comes out from these quite often situations where there are allegations with no proof, but it goes out to everyone, and basically the reputation of the person, whatever is conclusion, the reputation of the person is damaged.
Mm-hmm.
I think one of these also famous examples was the Johnny Depp, where he basically lost all his contracts. And
yeah, but again, it's I would say that both people lost, and that's actually what does happen. That doesn't in all these kinds of allegations, true or false, both people will lose either way, and even more than both people, even the people around them will also lose. So it's a lose situation. in this case. So there's no upside, there's no winning this. Nobody will win. Johnny Depp did not win that situation. Hart and Depp both lost, and people around them lost more as well.
Yeah, I agree with you, definitely. Let's talk about another case, which is also quite probable, and I think you did masters and bachelors. I don't know if you had this case, but I'll tell you, and you just tell me if you had something similar. You got assignments, a group work, you randomly assigned to the team, and you have their deadlines you need to complete, and you're on scholarship, you're well worried about your grade, so you want to make sure that this is really good, your GPA, and basically you come to the team, but you see that nothing is moving, kind of everyone's passive. So you decide to take initiative. You open up the group chat and tell everyone that you basically do your parts, let's split this and that, but you want to make sure that it's really good, and you say that in the end, I will refine the final version and I will submit on behalf of the team. And the time passes, no one submits anything, then you start contacting, no one replies basically. And then you think, okay, there is still time, life happens, so this is the situation. And you say, okay, 3 days before the deadline, please submit to me. I will compile everything and make the kind of final report. So 3 days before the deadline, still nothing. The people didn't finish everything and you are so stressed. And eventually you take everything yourself, you do everything yourself and you submit yourself. How, in this situation, what went wrong, why it went wrong, and how would you have handled differently? And have you had these situations in school or in university?
Not exactly so bad, of course, but I think everybody has had a bad group project. That's a thing in our education system, that you will get a group project and you will get a random group, and in that random group there are very different motivations. So what went wrong probably was that the group had very different motivations at the start. So some of them just wanted to pass, and me in that instance wanted to pass with flying colors. And that's the thing that you can do. That if you are very motivated yourself, you need to map out the motivation level of others. First, you can set the level of expectation at the start and ask people, and then you can refine it after you review their actual performance. Did they actually tell you the truth about the level of motivation? And then you cannot make these people perform better. They will perform as good as they will. You don't have any power over them. So when you do set those expectations at the start, whatever you should also then ask everybody to take on responsibilities equal to those expectations. So if somebody says, I don't care, like do whatever, then you ask them, do we want to do at least anything here? Like any part, and they will either say no or yes. But there's really you're very limited in your power to force them to do anything. Second thing is you can of course try to increase those levels of motivation. If you sell the idea that, hey guys, we're doing this thing, it's gonna be really cool. Or if you do these things, do you know about you can get a scholarship if you get high grades or whatever. If you figure out what could be motivating to the rest of the team. So first of all, map motivations. Second, you can try to increase those motivations. Third, assign tasks according to those motivations. And finally, I think life happens. That kind of mentality was another thing that went wrong. That's just, if you see 3 times already or 2 times already that there's no response, like 0, nothing, you need to move on. Like that person is not going to contribute. There's no point in fooling yourself that, oh, they have life happen. They're not going to. So you should already, if they're going to, that's nice bonus. You can include them later, but you should assume that they don't. You should make preparations for likely scenario, not unlikely scenario. So risk management in that sense was also missing in this case.
Yeah, indeed. Because probably if first signed 2 weeks before, it was nothing, then it should have triggered already some kind of alarm. But I, again, not in that kind of extreme case, but I had this kind of situations as well. And it's kind of mixture. Some know this psychology that this student seems to be kind of, I don't know, A scores studying. I don't have to do anything, he will do everything. He or she will do everything.
I had a very similar experience just in the masters, but what we actually did was that, like, we got the group, and it was me and my friend was in the group and some other people, and we were super motivated. Like, we were, oh, let's ace this, and then basically started the conversation. Okay, let's make a group. Okay, what's a level of ambition? Oh, we want to really do really great, and the other person was, no, I want to do the minimum. Like, it's just like low priority subject for me. It's not even engineering related. It's like sales or whatever. I don't care. And then we didn't think about it. It wasn't conscious that we wanted to do this, but it was just an emotional outburst at the start. But it really set our expectations really well, and we actually did perform well. And this person that wasn't so motivated did a little bit, but we weren't expecting much from her, so she didn't disappoint us. So it was all good.
And I think this kind of what you're saying basically is it because when you are in the student setup, there are volunteers. When you're in the company setup, you probably have more levers, salary, this kind of thing.
Depends. You have the levers if they are reporting to you or they're in your same department. I have experience where a person that I expected to perform on some level just said that, no, I don't want to. I think that my line is over here. It's much lower than I expected it would be. And so like that's my level of commitment, and what you gotta do about it. And, well, nothing. What I can do about it even in work setting is that I can pick up the slack. Like, if I see that for me to succeed, I need that part of the company to perform better than it is currently willing to perform, then I need to put in my extra effort over there and to get my goals met. Yeah, of course, I did try to motivate and find ways to get this person to want to perform, but so far unsuccessful.
But have you tried escalating to the manager of that person also?
Yes, of course. But what if the manager is overall satisfied and doesn't have really many options either, what are they gonna do? So of course it will impact probably negatively at the end of the year review maybe, but that's so far away.
I have one maybe a bit funny question, but it still would be interesting to see how you answer this from the creativity point of view. If you could compare yourself to an animal, which animal that would be?
I think I would compare myself to a bear.
Why?
Because they eat anything, and I eat almost anything. I don't eat licorice. I really despise licorice. But almost everything else I can sustain myself on, at least, even if I don't like it. And they really like sleeping. I also do enjoy that. And I think they're big and strong and straightforward, which is also at least a straightforward part.
I never seen you sleep.
I do enjoy sleeping a lot.
But if you talk not only about physiological characteristics, are there some other things like, especially if you connect with the leadership, for instance?
Like I mentioned, the straightforwardness. Like a bear will go through whatever to get to what they need, and they will protect their cubs, for example, with extreme aggressiveness. So I would always protect my people and my family as well. What my ideology in leadership is that the leader has to be a filter between bottom and top, so that all the bad that's coming from the top doesn't directly go to bottom, but it's filtered and processed to constructive criticism, and all the crumbling and bad feelings from the bottom don't go directly to top, but also are processed to be constructive feedback. So like this processing unit in between. And if like there's demands on the team that are unfair, then you should protect your team. So that is a psychological similarity, I guess, with the bear. Also, I really like how they look. Bears look cool.
Teddy bear. Which kind of, is it the brown bear you like most, or white bear?
I do like all of them. I think the black bear is really cool because they climb very well, although they are a bit small.
All right. And now I want to focus and talk more about your personal background in the LinkedIn. What you also mentioned, you stated your work ethos is slow is smooth, smooth is fast.
Yes, I really like that quote. I don't even remember where it's from. I think I heard it so many times, different places. But yeah, I like to be deliberate and slow to start, and then now when I get the process going, it will go fast because it is well prepared. So I'm very firm believer in being prepared. If you want something to succeed, you cannot wing it. You have to prepare. And even if you can wing it and it will be fine, it would have been better if you had prepared. In most cases, I mean, some people are very talented and spontaneous speakers, for example. Maybe it doesn't apply in these cases, but yeah, at least for me, preparations are very important.
In the business setup, how do you balance between like time and the cost that you have, let's say, and this quality of preparation?
It's a thing that has been probably being discussed a lot, and I think one thing that is missed sometimes is what does it mean to prepare. Just trying something out is also a part of preparation. So in most cases, it makes sense to do iterative approach. So you try something, you learn from it. It's part of a preparation for the next cycle. Try again, you learn from it. You try again, you learn from it. So
it's kind of design thinking.
Yeah. Yeah, it's very popular in software. I think it also can be easily applied in hardware. You should use your experiments as preparation.
Talking about that it came from software, this agile and this fast iterations, fast deliveries. But now talking about hardware, and I believe this is more like in your domain you're managing, that it seems to designing, developing the hardware.
Yeah.
How would you estimate the future with 3D printing? Where are we moving with that?
So right now, 3D printing, for us at least, most useful for in the prototyping phase. So it's too slow for mock-ups. Mock-ups is still faster to do with tape and cardboard. So if you just wanted to see what it looks like and how it feels like, basic level, but it's not the quality is not there in most cases in an affordable way, at least, to actually do the finished product. So where the technology is at right now, it's very useful for rapid prototyping, I would say. And what the future holds, I haven't kept such a close eye on the development of 3D printing. I think we're quite far away from replacing milling and casting, but we'll see. I'm very excited to see if we can make it cheaper and more higher quality.
Well, definitely this industry is developing fast, and and really cool to see that now it's not only plastic. No, it's been already for years.
It's concrete, so all kinds of materials that can be, but still 3D printed metal is still not, doesn't usually make as much sense as milling or casting it. Although what is advantage of doing that is that you can actually do shapes that you cannot mill or cast. For example, honeycomb interior, for example. So you don't otherwise how we do it, you would cast two sides and put them together. But if you want it to be a single piece, so you don't have a seam on it, but you want it to be inside not just hollow, but actually to be honeycomb shaped, for example, then only option is 3D printing, and that's something that we haven't been able to do before at all. We would have to do it in different parts and try to put the parts together later. Now we can do it in one piece.
Now you're in the position of manager of manager. So, but you are in the in engineering setup in this domain. Do you go to do something hands-on? Do you actually like to do this, or?
I do not do hands-on right now at all. I think there are, like in this case, all of my employees are so much better than me at engineering, then I would just feel out of place. Now, when I was just level 1 leader, I would do a lot more hands-on. That was in the military mostly, because then I knew I was at least as good as my administrator or my technician. I knew I could measure. I could measure, for example, the resistance of a coaxial cable. I knew what it was supposed to be, and I know how to use the tools as good as my technician. I even maybe could instruct him in that. Right now, if I would go and try to do my own electrical drawings or 3D models, or even automated solution concept sketches, I would probably just perform so much worse than the people who are already professional specialists working in my team. So no, I don't put my hands on anymore.
I'll probably here it's not to do the job that they're supposed to do, but rather understand better what they're doing, and from that perspective.
Yeah, I do believe that a leader should be able to do all the jobs under him at least badly, and I think I have achieved that level. So I can do those drawings. I can do a basic 3D model. It's just terrible. So I'm satisfied with that level, and I'm gonna leave it at that.
If you go back to your master's degree, was it the project you built, or it was theoretical simulation?
You mean my master's thesis?
Yes.
Well, my master's thesis was fully theoretical. It had a mock-up. The end result was mock-up, but it was very multidisciplinary. So I first started employing social science principles. I did a client survey, understanding their need, what's the actual gap of knowledge, and what is the most missing value from client perspective. And then I moved on from there to more engineering related. So what is technical solutions options? What is on the already existing technical solutions? What's the theory behind that? And then I finally put together a basic mock-up what the solution could look like, but I didn't actually build the end product. So did that answer your question?
I did, but I wonder if it was, did you do this for, was it kind of under intellectual property for some company, or it was purely for university?
It was for the Estonian Defence Forces.
Okay.
So it's still under the seal until 2026. It's not public.
All right. We'll be waiting for 2026 to read your thesis.
Yes.
Especially when you mentioned that you're ambitious to leave your mark, as it's stated on your LinkedIn.
Yeah, for sure. What motivates me is to see something that I did and go like, look, that's cool. So that motivates me, sure.
And you did your master's in communicative electronics, but your bachelor's in the chemistry.
Mm-hmm.
What was the journey from this totally different domain to totally another domain?
So I would start that they are both engineering domains, chemical engineering, although when I was bachelor's level, it wasn't exactly chemical engineering, it's just basic chemistry. And then the communicative electronics, they're connected on that they are sciences. So that's the connection point. And then how I moved from one to the other was through the military academy. So I had to choose a specialty in the military academy. And I was quite high in the list of people who gets to choose first. So I had to cut a few options, and what was driving my decision making there was what will be practical if world changes. And that has been actually the philosophy throughout my life when making choices. So I assume the world in any time amount of time, 5 years, 10 years, will not be the same as it is now. So what will be the constant? And people will still need electronic means to communicate was my philosophy when I was choosing my specialty. So that's why I went to signals, which is basically communicative electronics in military. It's called signals. So I specialized in signals, and from there, my ambition was to also get a master's degree. So it made sense to do the master's in communicative electronics.
Does it currently help you in your work in Ericsson?
Well, absolutely. I mean, Ericsson products are radios mostly, a little bit radio network access computers in Tallinn. So to understand the product that we're even producing, it's extremely helpful. And secondly, just the more hardware focused engineering helps me in my work to manage the development and maintenance of production equipment as well. Mm-hmm. So I think it's very, very well placed education for my current position.
Mm-hmm. And if you talk about your time in the Estonian Defence Forces, you were there as a product team lead, and
the official title was C2 team leader, command and control team leader. But the basic, how to translate to civilian is as product owner or similar.
But did it mean that there was kind of agile mindset applied and some Scrum framework used to run projects?
We didn't get that far when I quit already, but we were beginning to look towards those frameworks. So we didn't use those yet back then.
It's actually interesting to hear because one of the things that I noticed was the Scrum framework that tasks are not assigned. People pick them.
Mm-hmm.
And how is it in the military setup that you don't give order?
Well, like I haven't seen myself a Scrum team that just throws together a bunch of tasks and everybody picks something. I have never seen that actually work. So in theory, yes, people pick them. In reality, you agree on the goal, agree on what needs to get done, and you actually probably have the best people to do those things who are also available, and they will pick them in the sense that they are actually assigned. And in that sense, it's similar in the military setting as well. We have a bunch of things that we need to get done to accomplish the mission, and there are people best suited for that job. Especially in that very, very small team that I was leading. It was 5 people, 2 administrators who were mostly working with networks, 1 signals technician, so everything signal technician related went to him, and one logistics person, so everything logistics related went to him, and me as team leader. So yeah, it was not really a question who's gonna do the task. It's who's available to do the task and has the skills.
I can imagine that this initial idea coming from the software, and when you have all basically more or less same level specialist software developers, then probably they can interchangeably take different.
But if you have a proper cross-functional team, you have your tester maybe there, you have your senior developer, your architect there. It's probably also gonna look pretty much similar. That at the end of the day, it's not really a question who's gonna take the task. Especially if you've been developing for a long time, then some features will be owned by one developer, and the other feature will be more owned by another developer. The team culture will build there. So in theory, yes, you pick the task in the Scrum theory, but I personally have never met the person who says that, and I have not personally seen a team that does pure Scrum in the purest form as it's written. You always modify according to reality you're facing.
Great. One other question I want to ask you: who do you look up to as ideal leader?
I don't think ideals exist in real world. I think ideals exist in our minds. So I don't really have like one role model that I would say like this is the person I want to become. So, I think there's nobody like that. I think if you dig deep enough, you will find big flaws in everybody.
But if not one, but let's say, I don't know, top three, if like they complementing each other, who would those be?
I think I found that our current factory lead, Silly Manningsaar, is very inspirational in how she includes people. It's a very, very interesting thing to see in high-level management, that level of involvement in one person at a time. So that's something I take inspiration from. I think my previous manager, Evo Kessler, was something I take inspiration on how to challenge problems. Like if people come to and say this cannot be done or this is done that way, always has been done that way, then how to bring out the very efficiently how to bring out the flow in that logic. So that's something I would like to learn how to do, to not to be in those endless discussions, but just efficiently say, hey, what about that aspect? Mm-hmm. That's the flow. And then he gets results in that way, that, people realize, okay, we haven't thought this through, let's go back and figure it out. So I bring you 2 examples. I hope that's enough.
That's good enough, yeah, definitely. And the final question in a job interview that we have right now would be, what's your salary expectation?
Well, I hope that you provide me with a really good challenge. So the challenge is equally compensated. So I would like a 50% increase in my current salary.
All right. So we are done with the job interview.
Mm-hmm.
And now time for the feedback.
Mm-hmm.
How do you feel? How did you go?
I think we did great. Technical questions, leadership questions, it's a good mix. I think I was able to showcase my broad view of the world. So I was able to touch on very many different topics. I didn't get to dig into maybe some speciality that I have, like for example, planning or prioritization or setting objectives. We were more on a broad level of topics rather than going into anything very specifically. That's a reflection what we did. Good, bad, I don't have an opinion on that.
Let's say if you are hiring a manager to your department, would you apply a similar approach?
Yeah, mostly I do. I have hired a couple of people. The first interview I always want to understand how the person is thinking, because what they know I can find out later, either through a home task or a secondary interview, but just how they're even thinking, because some modes of thoughts are compatible for a specific position and some are less compatible. So I do approach a similar fashion.
And when you were hired, was it also similar to this kind of experience?
When I was hired, I was very surprised to get the offer, actually, because I assumed there would be a follow-up, but it was just one interview. I don't remember the questions anymore, exactly what was asked, but some of them were generic, what are you gonna do in 5 years or whatever. I don't find too much value in that question myself. I don't ask it. And some of them are very specific, like the scenario is that you need to install a new screwdriver on a production line. What are the steps you need to take? So, but it was one quite short interview, and then I got the offer. I was quite surprised. I was assumed there would be some more steps, but I'm happy.
But you basically imply that one interview is never enough, or?
Yeah, that sounds like an implication, doesn't it? I don't think that, actually. I do believe it is possible to find the perfect candidate with one interview. It's just sometimes you're not so sure, so then you do the other steps. So it depends. I have also made an offer based on one interview only. Just that the offer wasn't accepted. That person was expecting more than we could provide. So, but he was really good. So,
all right. And the final question I would like to ask you is, the person who is watching us. There are different people who are watching us, but the person who is watching us and listening to us is, let's say, the person is in the beginning of career. And it's not just that I would say maybe advice that you would give, but imagine that you yourself 15 years ago, 10 or 15 years ago, what advice would you give to yourself?
Well, I think the most important piece of advice that I will always remember is that hoping and canceling are not courses of action, are not considered courses of action. You can always hope and you can always cancel things. Exclude those from your planning. Plan other courses of action, and those will always remain to you. You can always cancel, you can always hope that things will turn out, but also prepare, also make plans. And then second thing is that practice what you want to achieve. Practice makes perfect is the saying, but practice makes you a lot more confident and makes you perform a lot better. So if you want to be whatever you want to be, start practicing before you actually have to do it. So take any opportunity to practice.
Thank you. And that was Haldo-Rait Harro in the episode of Leaders and Engineers. Thank you for watching and listening us.